All right. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. Okay, we are live. It's October 28th, and we're painting a watercolor set of pumpkins. Well, two pumpkins and a gourd. So, my name is Luba Carlson, and I teach beginner-friendly and budget-friendly arts and crafts. So I was gonna say paintings, but I also do other things. So welcome to my channel. Thank you for spending your evening with me and not leaving me by myself to my devices to to paint this. So this is what we're painting tonight. I am not having my camera that shows myself, me, on tonight because since we're working with watercolor, like the contraption on my desk is right in the view of that camera, so you will not be able to see me because I had to bring more light in so you guys can see exactly what we're doing. Okay, so hi Cindy. Guys, say hi, tell me, let me know that you can hear me because obviously that's the only way I know. um I have Angie, I have Anne. Awesome, awesome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, Linda and Virginia. Fantastic. Awesome. All right. So listen, we're just gonna start. I am not gonna do like anything else. We're just gonna start with this. So this is a watercolor painting and it's beginner friendly, which means that, hi Gian, which means that I'm gonna take a couple of minutes. Hi Kelly. To go through the supplies because it's important with watercolors, okay? So when you're painting something like this and it's very casual, right? You can go with mixed media paper, but you still want to make sure that it is a heavyweight mixed media paper. I did try Kenson. I do not like them at all, but I just want to share what I use. This is my, it's Strathmore, it's mixed media, 100% cotton, and it's 90 pound. So this paper is good. It worked pretty good. And I am going to be using tonight, I'm going to be using watercolor paper. It's watercolor paper that I bought back home in Ukraine, and it's 300 gram, which means that it can take a whole lot of water without buckling or tearing. Okay, so for watercolor, you want to use good quality watercolor paper, or you want to use mixed media paper if you just, if that's your goal, if you're just playing and you're not maybe worried about creating anything super detail maybe, or I don't know. Just play with it and see what works for you, okay? I hope I'm making sense. Now, of course, you do need watercolors, so I'm using the Winsor & Newton one that I have in my description. I really like this set. It has everything you need to paint pretty much anything. You can mix any color with these. And I do have a color mixing video on this channel somewhere down there. So I will try and remember and maybe plug it into the description, give you the link where you can find the color mixing video, how to mix colors together, the colors. So we have watercolor. Then for your sketch, this is a 6H pencil, and this is like the best thing to use on your watercolor paper because it will not make a dark mark that is so hard to erase. It will go super lightly on your paper. You do not want to use a regular white eraser on this because as you rub on it, you will break the fibers on your paper. So it is highly recommended, and it is exactly what I use. Get yourself a kneaded eraser. They're super cheap. They're like $2 for one, and they last you forever. And then you can use it, but you kind of roll it on your paper, or you go blot, 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 and it just lifts the graphite off of your paper without ruining the texture. Now, if you do not have one, but you need to do the sketch today, right? Like, what do you do? So what I was doing before I got the kneaded eraser one, what I was doing with this one, I was just going like this, like patting very lightly on my paper, and also as I draw my sketch, also go super, super light on your paper, okay? I will use the micron pen to outline. I have paper towels, 2 jars of water. What else is here that you need to know? Paint brushes, round paint brushes, size 6, size 4, depending on what you're painting. Both sizes should work just fine. If you have any kind of questions, please let me know. Okay. All right. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me loud and clear. UNR Math Camp, welcome. And Hunter, also welcome. And I don't remember if I said Jan and Kelly, welcome. Welcome back. Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's start with the beginning because I did not give you the tracer specifically for that reason, because when you do the tracer and you use a copy paper on your tracer, the lines come in too thick and too dark, and the watercolor is very opaque and you will not be able to cover up anything. So I suggest everybody grab printer paper or notebook paper, whatever you have. Any scrap paper will work. And I'm going to show you real quick how I sketch my pumpkins before I start doing that on my watercolor paper. Because when I start on my watercolor paper, I'll be using this pencil, and chances are it will be super hard for you to see what I am doing. Okay, so I have my paper in landscape position, which means that the longer side faces me. Okay, and so we have 3 pumpkins. One pumpkin goes right in the middle on the bottom. The other one sits right behind it, right? And the third one, which is the gourd, kind of sits over here. Can you see my lines? Can you see my lines? Tell me, and if you cannot, I will switch to a marker because I really want you guys to see this. Let me know. Can you see those lines? And I know there is this awkward lag between me saying things and you actually like hearing what I'm saying and then you responding and me seeing your response. Barely seeing. Far away here in Texas. Oh no, you can't see all the way from Texas. That is so, so hard. I don't know what we're gonna do with that. You know what? I'm gonna just switch to a black Sharpie so that you can see my lines. All right. So don't do anything yet. I'm just showing placement. This is how I decide on my placement. So I have one pumpkin in the middle. That would be its spot. Then another one right behind it. That's its spot. And then we have a gourd on the side. You need better glasses? Oh no. Maybe I should just draw with a Sharpie and this way everybody can see what's happening. So this is the placement. Okay, so I am kind of aware where each pumpkin will be going. For my center pumpkin, I just start with an oval. It is that simple. I start with an oval. It doesn't need to be perfect. And then I add sides on each side. And so these two are kind of sitting on the same line here. So you wouldn't draw this line, but it kind of sits on the same line, okay? And then over here, it goes a little bit up higher, and I just bring it back like this. So that's one. And then for the stem, what I like to do is I like to add a curvy line that goes a little bit out and over. And then one that's here, bring it in. Okay. And then here on the top, I like to add either a triangle or a diamond, like some sort of a shape that adds dimension. And then from this side, I just go down. Okay. And then this kind of connects, and I attach, make a line over here to attach the stem to the pumpkin. And that's it. That's my first pumpkin. Okay. The second sits behind it, so not all of it will be visible. So the second pumpkin, and it's also sitting up higher, they're not on the same level. So it goes probably about an inch higher, and it's gonna sit right here. That's the center of it. Okay, and then that's one side, and that's a side, but we cannot draw this line down because it's hiding because the first pumpkin is in front of it. Yeah, and then another line over here. Oh, another side. Okay, just a sketch. And then we're gonna add the stem, or whatever that's called. Something like that. Go down, connect, make sure there is nothing empty there. So that's the second. Okay. And then for the gourd also sits up a little bit up higher. So I'm going to put it up higher a little bit. And the shape of it is like an elongated 8, right? But you do not want to make the 8. But if it helps to visualize what you can do, you can, I'm going to push on my pencil so you can see better. You can start with the 8. I'm sure you can see that one. And then kind of follow that shape, maybe make it a little bit wider. Just practice on some scrap paper. And then you just put it in here. And then there is the spot for um, uh, the stem. There we go. Something like that. All right. Let me know if you have any questions. This is that simple. It doesn't need anything else. And then if you want to do the center like I did, you can add this. But I would not add it with my pencil. So this is just the idea on how we are going to sketch this. Okay? I'm going to keep it on my screen for like, I don't know, for 10, 15 seconds. If you want to take a screenshot or you, like if you need the reference, because I'm going to put it away. So I'm going to keep it here for a few more seconds. Okay, let me know how you're doing. Is this all kind of, not too bad, is it? Angie says that her 8 looks like a treble clef. Okay. Just outline. Just use it as a shape and then outline your gourd around it. All right. So now I'm moving to my watercolor paper now that I know what I'm doing. And I'm going to use my hard 6H pencil. And you will not see a thing. You will not see a thing probably because this is going to be such a thin line. But if you can see a thing, that means that I made a very good, that I got good lighting system here because I really tried to make it so that you guys can see what I'm doing. So light-handed, no matter what kind of pencil you're using, you want to just use super light line, like a hairline. Can you even, like if I bring it all the way up, like pretty much put it in the camera, then you can see it, right? But not from here. Okay, good to go. And then let's add the other rib. And what I like about pumpkins is that you can make them pretty much any shape. Like you can make them flat, you can make them more rounded, you can make them more like almost like egg shape, right? Like very long and tall. There is, the sky is your limit. Okay, I'm moving on to my stem. Something like that. That's my connection. And that is the back of the pumpkin. Don't forget the back of the pumpkin. This is what people usually forget. Those lines that connect the front of your ribs and the back. Like there is a little bit of pumpkin that you can still see, okay? So don't forget to add that. And now I'm gonna kind of eyeball an inch higher and start right here, my middle. And you know what? I'm just gonna play with this and I'm gonna make the second pumpkin a little bit more rounded just for the fun of it, because as I just said, pumpkins can be different shapes, right? So we can play with this, not a big deal. And now the second rib that goes out here, and then close in, and then the stem. Once you figure out how to paint one pumpkin, you can just keep going. It's like once you figure that one out, you're good. You can start painting your own cards, send them to all you people. hmm Uh, okay. I'm reading comments. Angie, you need to push them at the same time. On my Android, it's the volume down. Lock and volume down, but you have to push them at the same time. If you push one before the other, it will turn off your phone. Okay. So now I'm working on my gourd, and I really want to make it like a funky, crooked gourd. So I'm just gonna go over here, give it a nice full tummy, and then just go into this gooseneck, right? And come back. Not much room left for the stem, but I don't think the stem is the main part of the gourd, although they do make it look kind of fun, right? So yeah, I'll just send the stem this way, and I'll make it a little bit rounded. Okay, and I'm pretty sure it's hard for you guys to see. I will try. Right here, see that I still have a line that goes through the stem, and you want to remove that. Whatever lines you don't need, you want to remove them because you cannot erase after you apply watercolor. Once you put watercolor on it, it's there to stay. So carefully, just do your best to remove it. And I also like to go around my already faint lines and make them even fainter. I just need a hint that there's something there. Okay. Now, if you cannot take all of it out again, do not worry, because at the end we will be outlining all of this with our micron pens, and so whatever's left here, it's not going to be such a huge problem. Okay. All right. So now we are almost ready to start painting. The first thing I want to talk to you about this painting is the highlights. So if you guys painted acrylics before, you know that you paint everything else, right? We paint everything, and then we add highlights. Not so much here. With watercolor, it's all backwards because white watercolor is still very translucent and it will not cover your other colors. So you need to plan for your highlights ahead of time. So highlights in watercolor is pretty much paper that's not painted. Okay. Angie, don't worry about it. Just enjoy your painting. Okay? Don't worry about it. You don't need the screenshot. You're fine. So if this is like your first couple times, you have no idea what you're doing, if you need that kind of help, which this is how I started, I would take my pencil and I would outline, like create, like think, okay, I want to highlight here. I want to highlight there. Let me grab my Sharpie pumpkins and show you with a Sharpie what I'm doing. So I think, okay, I want to highlight here and then one here. And then I probably would want something here and here. So I'm just planning my highlights like this. Doesn't have to be anything like any specific shape. Okay. You can add a highlight to your stem if you want it. It just really helps bringing your painting together very lightly. Okay, got it? Okay, maybe here. So depending on how much white you want, it's your painting, so it's really up to you. But like I like to have a highlights like this. Okay, so it just helps. It just helps to know where I want them. And some of these highlights are going to be white, and then some of them are going to be very, very light yellow. So see how yellow plays here? So like this yellow is much lighter than this yellow here. So we'll be playing with yellows and a little bit of, what's that color called? It's not orange. Cadmium red. Can't see in glasses. Hue. Pale hue. Cadmium red pale hue, I think it's called. It really looks like orange to me, but it's red. So it's like orangish red. Okay. How are we doing with this stage? Let me know. The technique we're going to be using for this whole painting is wet on wet, which means that we're going to wet the paper before applying paint to it. We're going to paint one pumpkin at a time. And you are applying, we'll be applying water to the areas where there is no highlight, okay? So you're gonna have to paint your pumpkin with clean water and try to avoid the areas that have, try to avoid the areas that have highlights on them, okay? So I have kind of outlined my highlights, so I will remember where I want them, and I am taking most of the graphite out because I do not want it here. Now for your color and for your paint, most people that I know of prefer mixing their paint in their little palettes or like larger palettes. So the way you do this is you get some clean water onto your palette and you make a puddle, and then you collect some paint from your cake and add it to your water and mix, 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 and that's how you get your paint, and that's what you use for your paint, for your watercolor. I like my colors a lot more saturated, and so I noticed that I really don't get enough saturation by doing that. And so to me, it's better to just paint directly from the cake. Okay? So this is how I do it. If you have a different technique, please feel free to use your technique or how you learned to do it, how you prefer doing it. So when I have a cake like this, I'll just spray it with water, or you can just add water with your brush. But I call this reviving, bring it back to life. And I just set them right here. Let me see, let's scooch down just a tiny bit so you can see what paints I'm using. Okay, and for the pumpkin, so I thought I would use this brush. It says number 8, but I think it's a little bit too big. Let's go back to number 5. Okay, so I'm just going to put water on it, clean water on my brush. And I'm going to paint the middle, the center part of my pumpkin with just water. And I'm going to work it around all the way this rib. Oh, it looks like I needed to give my brushes a nice shampoo bath. It has a little hint of green to it, but maybe it helps you see the wetness. So here I'll lift it and you will see it. See that it's wet? It's kind of glistening. Okay, like that. So I left my highlight and now I'm grabbing some of the lemon yellow. So we'll be using lemon yellow, cadmium orange hue, a little bit of cadmium red fine hue for the pumpkins. Now, this is what I am going to be using. If you guys would like to use different colors, please be my guest. If you want to paint a pink pumpkin or a teal pumpkin, please do that. So I've applied some paint to this water, and that's it. I'm just going to stop right there. I do not want to cover the whole thing with lemon yellow. I'm going to rinse my brush, and now I'm going to grab some of this cadmium yellow, which is warm yellow. So the way I paint a lot is by combining, mixing, contrasting colors in temperatures. So I would use warm yellow and cool yellow, and I would use warm blue and cool blue. So that is really interesting. That is a very nice way to make your painting look bright. I really like bright colors, as I said. That's why I'm painting directly from the cake, because I end up wasting a whole lot of paint when I'm doing it the other way. Okay, so the goal is to not blend. You do not want to blend your yellows. Let them move around. I'm moving things so that I can lift the paper even closer to the camera, so you can see what's happening. See, it's kind of moving around and getting happy there. Okay. The thing with watercolor is that you have to slow down. You cannot rush. Not rush this thing. All right, clean your brush. And now I'm going to use the water. So I'm going to skip over this rib. So we're going to paint every other one so that it doesn't bleed too much. It will still bleed a little bit, and I'm okay with it bleeding a little bit, but I do not want it to bleed a whole lot. And it's all yellows, and oh, I just painted over my highlight, which is fine. I forgot I was talking. I was busy talking. Okay, so some water, some lemon yellow into that. Okay, rinse my brush, and I'm gonna get some cadmium yellow and just add it. It's really, I always paint my pumpkins yellow. I don't know why. I just love it that way. And my kids always pick up orange, bright orange pumpkins when we go to pumpkin patch or something like that. Okay. Rinse. Going to one over here, making sure I leave a highlight. And does every rib need to have a highlight? No, it's fine. Do every other one, it's okay. Go, that's my lemon yellow. Rinse my brush, admin. You just gotta slow down and allow the paint to do its thing. Just let it do its thing. Watercolor will move around and pretty much will do what it wants, right? Watercolor always does what it wants. All right, so while we're here, please do this. Please do this. Yes, so I am really, really serious about growing this channel. I spent probably 2 years growing my Facebook to only find out that that was not the platform for me, sadly. And so now I'm moving everything to YouTube, and liking this video and subscribing to the channel really doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me grow. Okay, so I'm putting water in this rib here, and as you can see, it's starting to bleed. Yeah, and that's fine with this. I don't mind that it's bleeding here, so I'm adding lemon yellow to the red. I do not mind the colors bleeding on this painting at all. I think that it only makes it more interesting as it's all gonna be, because we're gonna do the outline, right? The black outline, so it really doesn't matter if your edges are all super defined and all of that. Just put some color on it. I think at some point I will learn not to feel awkward about asking people to subscribe and like my videos. It really feels awkward. Okay, and I'm gonna add lemon yellow, cadmium yellow, And while all of this is, we'll have to make a brush. I'm going to grab some of this cadmium red hue, just a little bit, and I'm going to add some of this just shading. We want to do this while it's on flat because you still want to all move around. So find the red spots, fill the slots where I would apply this gorgeous orange, which is not orange, it's just something like try to avoid going into swoosh like I are in the working the color in, just some color and then move. Do not work the color in, don't blend. Okay. Sound needs adjusting. What happened to my sound? Huh. Could you give me more? What's happening? Is there an echo? Is there... Oh, thank you, Chad. Android voice? Huh. Try again. I don't know what's going on because I only have one mic. I just checked. Should be good. Okay, I'm gonna try and count 1 to 5 and you guys tell me. It's much better now? I don't know. I didn't do anything. I just gonna stop talking. Huh. There's something happened. Okay. Well, let's get going. Let's get going. Okay, so next we're gonna paint this top of the pumpkin, but not the stem. So you want to be careful and not put any water on that stem, because if you do, it's all gonna bleed into your stem, and we do not want that. And we're using the same colors, and if you notice that there is a puddle forming that you don't want, you just wipe your brush on the paper towel and then come back and lift it with the brush. And I'm gonna add some more of cadmium yellow here. Back to normal. Okay, it was my voice of being awkward, I guess. Okay, so this central pumpkin can rest and dry we're gonna move on to this pumpkin over here on the right. And we're gonna use the same technique. You're gonna paint a part wet. Okay. Mind your, remember about your highlights. Rims. Same, absolutely same technique. We're using lemon yellow followed by cadmium yellow. Lightly applying to your paper. Pretty much putting dots on there and allowing the water do the work, which is why you want to have good quality, um, uh, good quality watercolor paper. Because if it's not, then your paint just puddles up and sits there and it doesn't move. Yeah, just a drop. I think a little bit more water. I think I want a little bit more warmer yellow on this part. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, I'm gonna let this move around and see what happens. Some more, get some more weather. Going to the yeah, next pumpkin, remembering my highlights. I keep reminding you guys, kind of, right? It sounds like, but I'm really reminding it to myself also to not get carried away and forget about highlights. We do not want to do that. Although it's not the end of the world, and if you do forget your highlights, you can always use a white gel pen or a Posca pen, or you can use gouache, white gouache. What else is there? There's white India ink, I think. No, it's not India ink, sorry. White Chinese ink that also can be used. So even if you do forget to do your highlights, it's not the end of the world. Okay, that's too much water on my brush. So I'm just doing both ribs here on this side. And it's all gonna bleed and it's fine. Now I'm gonna do this rib over here. So I'm gonna go in. Okay, now the back side, the side right next to the stem, like all of this. All of this is wet now. Gonna grab some of that cadmium red hue. And I'm gonna start adding some of that to the ribs. Looking for spots that are wet. I was just thinking that this color would be perfect for something Christmassy. I love my thing since childhood. I don't know why, but I've always been attracted to drawing and painting a branch of a Christmas tree with Christmas ornaments hanging off of it. I've always loved that, and I'm thinking that this red would be perfect for some Christmas ornaments. Don't you think? Alright. I'm lifting some water. It's puddling. I put a little bit too much, so I'm using my brush to lift water. And now that I've lifted water, I can grab some more cadmium red and add it to it so that it won't just flood, but would just kind of add some color to it. Okay. Well, and if you thought that now I'm going to move on to the gourd, you are absolutely correct. So I'm going to avoid the top, and I'm going to make sure that I have some highlights here. Some parts that do not have water on them. But the side that's behind the pumpkin, so like the drawings are touching, that I want to have water on it. Okay. Now I want this side of the gourd, the left side, the top of it, I want it a little bit lighter than the rest of it, which is why this side gets more lemon yellow. Rinse my brush and grab some of the cadmium yellow, the warm one. I'm just gonna add it to the areas that have water, but not to the areas that are my highlights. I think in many ways, watercolor is a lot more challenging than acrylics. Also, the effects, the results you get from watercolor, it's just amazing. I love watercolor. Okay, so while the gourd is drying, let's paint the stems. Let's do the first go on the stems. And for my stems, I'm going to be using this sap green, right? That's what it's called? Yes, just making sure I didn't lie. Okay, and so again, we're going to make it wet. Grab some paint. It's a first go on this. We will be back. So we're just putting some color and then we'll come back with more. But we need this first go to dry so that we can come back and do something else with this. Because otherwise it's all gonna just bleed. We don't want that, yeah? Okay, let's do the second stem over here. And I think the gourd stem will have to wait for the gourd to dry. I do not want the green to bleed too much. Okay, we have some green. We're good to go. All right, what also we can do, we can allow it to bleed a little bit. Let me do that. If you don't like that, then don't do that. Don't let it bleed, okay? So just wait for it to dry. But I really think this could be fun. Let's see, would it bleed? No, not a lot. Okay, I think we're good. All right, we have some green on here. We're gonna clean the brushes, and we're now gonna um, add another layer of lemon yellow to all of this. And you want to go super light on your brush when you're doing that, and not everywhere is gonna get some lemon yellow, just some parts of it, okay? So I'm kind of picking out spots that are super pale right over here, and I'm adding a little bit of water to those spots. And some of my highlights are also gonna get painted now. They're not gonna stay white. Okay, they're just gonna get some lemon yellow on them, but this lemon yellow is gonna look different from the lemon yellow from what we used before because it's layering now, and so the color is changing a little bit. Again, you want to use a very loose hand on this. Like this highlight is huge, right? And so I'm gonna add some lemon yellow to it and just make it a little bit smaller. Just add a little bit more color to this. It will still look like a highlight. Okay. All right. So if you have figured out the light motion, welcome back, Angie. If you figured out the light motion of your brush, you can just grab some paint directly on your brush without making this all wet again. And just lightly apply it to where you want it. And this is given that your background is all dry. This would be wet on dry. Just adding some more color to it. Just making it a little bit brighter. And I'm gonna do the same thing with this pumpkin. Here, see how I'm adding some lemon yellow just to the highlight area and then to the whole pumpkin. And it really is getting a little bit brighter. If you would look at my palette right now, my paints, you will be able to say, you will easily say what color I use the most. Okay, now I'm going with the same color over my gourd. Ever so lightly, ever so lightly. Okay. Don't judge your pumpkins too harshly. Right now it's a mess of paint, right? It's a big mess. They're supposed to be like that. That's the point. Okay, so now I'm rinsing my brush, and now I'm going to be grabbing the sap green directly from the cake right onto my brush, and I'm going to be adding that to my stems. And so I'm going to be making so I kind of pretend that the light hits from the top left corner, right? And so I'm just doing the right side darker, just to create the shading. Angie, I think you can use both, but I don't think those are watercolor paints. That sounds like colors from deco art. That sounds like acrylics. Okay. So now, if you want to add a little bit of woodsy to it, so to speak, you can get a tiny bit of yellow ochre right here, or you can grab some of this green sap onto the palette on the side, right here. Okay, you can do a little bit of this green sap on the side and mix it with a tiny bit of cadmium red. But you can also just use a little bit of yellow ochre, nothing wrong with that. Just grab some and add just a little bit to your stems, and that will help your stems look a little bit woodsy, not just like a super fresh green, right? But like they've been cut off there. So I brought it up here. I'm adding a little bit more color to the stem because it is super pale. I think I'm going to leave it as this. Okay. So let's do the background. The background is going to be mostly cerulean blue with the shading done with ultramarine. Okay, so we mostly will be using the sky blue here, and the shade and the shadow under the pumpkins will use ultramarine. Okay, so clean up your brush, and the background is also wet on wet, but doesn't have to be. You know what? Let's do wet and dry. It will be easy. It doesn't need to be wet and wet because then it all bleeds and it's a big mess. Let's do wet and dry. So for a background like this, it's pretty big, right? It really makes sense to mix your paint because it's hard to paint wet on dry directly from the cake. Okay, so I keep bringing water into my palette. quite a bit, quite a bit, because it needs to work through the whole size that I have. Well, I guess here will work. Okay, and I'm gonna grab a whole bunch of cerulean blue, mix it in. I'm gonna need a lot. I want a nice pigment here, so I'm gonna grab quite a bit of paint. Okay, and now I'm just gonna start putting it on my paper just like this, and I move my brush around until I have no more paint left on my brush, kind of, right? It's super wet, but I keep moving it. And then I grab some more and go back. And I go super careful around my pumpkins and my gourd. If it bleeds a tiny bit, it's okay, no big deal. Just keep your hand light and keep moving. And if you see a puddle somewhere, just move it around. Just move it around, okay? And keep going. Just keep going. And go on the top. I really like making a background like this. It's super loose and it's super easy. It's not so easy when you have little tiny flowers. Okay, so if you have gotten into your stem and your stem isn't dry yet, look, it's bleeding. Wipe your brush on the paper towel, go back and use your brush to lift the green over here. Just lift it with your brush, wipe it on the paper towel again, go back, lift, okay, and then leave that spot to be for a bit. Work on some other spots. And the other way to do this would be to use your paper towel. Just flip a piece and then blot it out. Just let it to stop bleeding. Let it dry, and then you can come back and fix the spot because it will dry very pale. Okay. Angie, it's cerulean blue. It's sky blue. Angie, I'm pretty sure you're painting with acrylics. Which is not a big deal, but it's just that they're not going to work the same way as watercolor does. As long as you're having fun. This kind of work is very relaxing to me. have to slow down. You have to pay attention. Like your heart rate slows down, your breathing gets more deep, right? Hey, Kay Paget, or I think I read it right. I'm sorry if I made a mistake saying your name. I am sure that you will be able to replay. Yes, it will be saved on this channel. So, okay, so painters, this I am adding more light blue to the areas that have dried already to just get a little bit variety of, how paint will dry. So it will create this interesting patterns that I really enjoy. Another way to add an interesting pattern is you can just pat it with a paper towel. I did it here. I'm not gonna do it on this. Oh, sorry, I'm not gonna do it on this painting. But here, I don't know if you can see the little like flower pattern here. This is a paper towel that I just put on top of my wet watercolor, and it kind of stenciled or imprinted it. So that's also another fun thing you can do with this, right? Because you needed another thing. Okay, let's add. Okay, now I'm gonna make sure that the area underneath the gourd and the central pumpkin and the other pumpkin, so like this area under, I'm gonna make sure that it's wet. I want it wet because we're gonna start adding ultramarine blue to this, okay? To just create a shadow. So just some ultramarine blue, just directly under, I almost said under the fruit, because this gourd reminds me of pears for some reason. So this is ultramarine blue. And I am just putting it in the line, right under the pumpkins. And then go back and add a little bit more. And it will organically bleed into the wet background that we just painted. And you cannot just paint it organic like that, like it bleeds on its own. I think it's pretty amazing. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry, getting a drink of water. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so my stem here, I am not super happy with that. So I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to make sure that it's not super wet. And grab some of that sap green, the same sap green, and I'm going to add it because next step is outlining. And before we can outline this, it needs to dry. So I must tell you that the best effects you can achieve with watercolors that dry on their own. You need to let it sit and let all the color move around and, create all the bleeding and patterns and everything that you want to see on it. But if you're in a rush, you can always use a blow dryer and it'll work just fine. Okay, so this is exactly what I'm gonna do. So, y'all, I'm going to mute the mic for like a few minutes. Let me see. I want to remove everything that might blow away. Don't want things blowing away. And I'm gonna dry this, okay? Okay, I'm not leaving, I'm just blow drying. Be right back. Alrighty, I'm back. Angie says that she has too many flaws and all of that in her painting. Guys, do not try to make it perfect. It doesn't need to be perfect. Okay? I think that it's so attractive is because it's not perfect. Okay, so our next step is outlining. So I'm gonna take get my watercolors off the table so that I can work. Hold on. Oh, sorry. I do not like bubbled things. Okay. This is also an easy way to clean up your palette if you do not want to keep your color. But if you do want to keep your color, like this one, I kind of liked it for something. I let it dry and I can bring it back. Okay. So I can just add a little bit of water to it and use that color again. So do not wipe off your palettes if you plan to use those colors. Those colors are good and there's no need to waste to waste your paint. Okay, back to practice paper. Hold on. Nope. Okay, so there is a few ways you can do outlining. You can just use your marker. I'm sorry. You can just use your marker and just draw a flat line, going all the way around. There's nothing wrong with that. So this is one way you can do this, right? And yes, happy little accidents. Quirks are the best. Exactly. This is what makes it yours. If everybody painted everything, did everything perfect, it would be a very, very boring world to live in. So the way I like to do it is I like to use a thin marker and see how I go like a few times over the same line, and they're like all broken lines, they're not long. So this is how I like to do it. Before you do it though, make certain that your paper is dry. If your paper and your painting is not dry, your marker might bleed into things, okay? Because the ink that comes out of the marker is wet. So we do not want to do that. Yeah. So I really like micron pens. I use them a lot. That's the 0.5 size. I have a bunch, which is why I have this one taped, so that I know that I'm working with this one, so that I'm not trying to use, same like 500 markers of the same size, but I use one and then it dies and then I use another. So just start in the middle, and I kind of use this kind of scratchy, so my paper is not quite dry yet. It could use quite a bit more dry, and it took a whole lot of water. I might need to pause this for another minute or so. Yeah, this is not gonna work. So see, my marker doesn't want to draw on it very well because it's wet. Okay, so give me a minute, okay? Okay, so Kate Paget, I showed step by step how to create this at the very beginning. So when you watch your replay, there will be the time when this is done, and then I'll just keep it on the screen for a while if you need to take a screenshot or something, okay? I just showed it right in this video, just told it earlier. And also, everybody, if you need this resource, if you go to lubacarlson.com/shop, and I think I even have it on the banner. Hold on, because you know what I'm talking about. Sorry about that sound. I do that sometimes. Here. So if you go here, there is a group that's called free downloadables, I think, free downloads and printables or something like that. There is a Thankful Pumpkin. It's a perfect outline It's just one pumpkin that you can download for free, print, do whatever you need with it, but it will help you with your pumpkin drawing. Okay. All right, back to, oh yeah, and I need to do the shameless plug for this because if you're enjoying this and you feel like buying me a coffee, I will appreciate it. Awkward. You know me. Awkward. Okay, back. Anne keeps touching her wet pumpkin stems. If they are so wet, put some paper towel on it, let it dry, and then do another coat, a little bit of watercolor, and go wet and dry. Does this help, Anne? Okay. All right. So we are back to this broken lines. Seriously, just see, just putting things in, nothing. Don't overthink it. This is what gives it character and what makes it look so special. See, now that the paper is dry, the pen works much better. And I like these pens because they are waterproof, but they're also, I'm not sure what kind of, I think it's called pigment ink in them. It dries like almost instant. So you can move your hand on it and it's not gonna smear. And that's kind of another reason why I like these pens. I do not sell them. It's not a commercial. I'm just telling you about supplies that I love. Right? Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Here goes my stem. There goes the something like that. Don't forget the back. Gotta add the back. Right? And we have the pumpkin. The first one. Yeah, Anne says that she's just being impatient, and I have to tell you guys that watercolor doesn't like speed. You need to be patient. Now, once it's dry and you just do an outline, well, you know, who needs to be patient now? You can just go, right? So as you can see, I'm literally scratching the lines onto here. Oh, almost forgot that side. Yeah, it's black, Angie. I'm drawing with a black marker. Okay, and here you kind of want it broken. So it's like a letter N. Oop, I tried to show it closer than the, yeah, so it's like an N or like a broken W line. Okay. All right, so the bottom of this gourd, it's like an upside down smile, just like that, okay? And then the parts inside of it, I think it's too big for the gourd, but you know, it's not a botanical, right? And then I like to do, what's it called? Oh my gosh, I think it's called hatch marks, something like that. These over here, I like to add them to add some extra shading. And so they're not going everywhere, right? They're just going in the parts that need shading. So I just start with lines like this. Okay, and then I cross them. Just go across, just like that. Okay, and then gonna do the others, the bottom of the gourd, same way. Okay, then the left side of the stem, because remember, oh, I'm sorry, the right side, I'm sorry. The right side of the stem, because we said that the left side, that's where the light is. Okay, then some here on the bottom, the central pumpkin, just where the shading needs to be, and here. And a little bit on the central one, not a lot. And then right side of this stem. And of course, here we go. And some here. And some here. Cindy says, I love how it comes alive. Right? It just brings it up right away. And I just love how this shape, this pumpkin shape is different from the one in the middle. I just love them. They're so cute. They're adorable. Okay, so depending on your style, I don't know what you guys like to do. I really like to put my signature, like I usually put it along somewhere, so it almost looks like shading a little bit. I just like doing that. And there is one more step, but it requires extra supplies. So this is good. Okay, this is good. It doesn't need anything else. But if you wanted to add white splatter, see how there is white splatter? What I used for that was, I think it was white gouache. Yes, it was definitely white gouache. And yes, so it's this one. It's called Designer's Gouache. It's permanent white. Um, so if you want to do that, you would put some on your, I would use a paper plate or something, like some of this on the paper plate with some water, not a lot of water, and then it goes on the brush, and then you can do drumsticks. I'm sure you've seen that before. I am not doing that right now because the distance between my painting and the camera is about 6 inches. So if I just splatter right now, I will have like all my camera covered in splatters. So I really do not want to do that. But if that's what you want to do, you can definitely do that. If you do not have gouache, you can always use white acrylic paint for that also. So that would also work and will look great. Do not go crazy. And also, if you want to do splatter and you've never done it before, try on a scrap sheet of paper before doing it on your painting, because once it's down, it's down. You can't fix it. Okay, so once you're done, you can just you can hand letter Happy Thanksgiving, or whatever it is that you want to do. But this concludes our class. Super excited. This was so much fun. I hope everybody had fun and enjoyed it. I want to invite you to the journal making class I'm hosting on the 1st of November. We will be making a Christmas journal, and then we will be using that Christmas journal starting December 1st. This is going to be the Advent Calendar Art Journal. So this is my kind of sample journal that I made um, um, to show you guys like different things that we would be making. Okay. But what was I saying? I'm saying that, yeah, it's free and it's going to be fun. So I wanted to invite you to join me there. Make sure to check events. Make sure to see what else I have scheduled on this channel because there's things coming and so much fun. I thank you for participating. And also, if you're in my group, if you're Paint with Luba group, take a picture of your painting and put it there. I would love to see what you painted. It always brings me so much joy to see what you guys create. I will see you next time. Bye.